When Margaret Holloway saw the broken dragon cowering in the auction dome, everyone else saw worthless genetic waste.
Always.
But she saw something extraordinary, a soul crying out for love. What she didn't know was that this defective creature would become humanity's most powerful ally and change the fate of the galaxy forever. Dear explorers, prepare for a journey through savage worlds, alien hunters, and the unstoppable force of human defiance. The story begins now. The auction domes. Crimson-tinted air burned Margaret's lungs as she watched the crowd dismiss Lot 47 like garbage. The tiny dragon cowered in his containment field, wings hanging at impossible angles, scales translucent as broken glass. While thunder-winged behemoths roared for attention in neighboring pens, this one sat in perfect, devastating silence. Credits going once. The Vorak auctioneers for arms gestured dismissively. The purple-scaled alien's voice dripped contempt through the neural translator. For this genetic disaster, Margaret pushed through the sneering crowd, her heart hammering against her ribs. The little dragon lifted his head, and those ocean-deep eyes met hers. In them she saw something that made her chest tighten with recognition, the hollow acceptance of someone who'd been abandoned too many times to hope. 100 credits, she heard herself say. Her business partner Thomas grabbed her arm, his weathered face twisted in disbelief. Maggie, what are you doing? That thing can't even fly. His name is Tip, she whispered, not understanding where the name came from. Simply felt right, like a prayer answered, and he's coming home. As the transfer cage arrived and Tip struggled to walk 6 agonizing feet on trembling legs, Margaret knelt beside the entrance. The dragon approached, inch by painful inch, dragging his malformed wings behind him like broken dreams. When he finally reached her and rested his fever-warm head against her palm, she felt something crack open inside her chest. You understand? Everything, don't you? She breathed. Tip's eyes glistened with unshed tears, confirming what the textbooks claimed impossible. Dragons could cry. That night in the medical bay, Margaret woke to find Tip standing over her cot, wings quivering as he stared at the window where other dragons soared past like shadows against the stars. The longing in his expression was so raw it stole her breath. You want to fly, she said. Not a question. The dragon nodded with heartbreaking human clarity. Margaret rose and pulled up his medical scans, her fingers flying across the holographic display. Computer, analyze surgical options for wing realignment. Risk of paralysis exceeds 90%, the AI responded coldly. Her shoulders sagged. But then she straightened. What about external supports? A prosthetic framework? A theoretical possibility exists. Success rate, 12%. Margaret turned to Tip, her voice steady, despite the tremor in her hands. 12 is better than 0? Want to try? For the first time, she saw hope kindle in those impossible blue eyes. But as she began designing the prosthetics, neither of them noticed the figure watching from the shadows outside the medical bay window. Someone who'd been tracking Tip for far longer than Margaret realized. 3 weeks into Tip's rehabilitation, Margaret found the stranger waiting by the paddock fence at dawn. He's tall and lean with silver-streaked black hair. He wore the kind of expensive biosuit that screamed military contractor. His eyes, pale green like winter ice, tracked every movement as Tip struggled through his wing exercises. Impressive work, the stranger said, his accent carrying traces of the outer colonies. Most would have put him down by now. No. Margaret's hand instinctively moved to the neural disruptor at her belt. This is private property. Relax. He raised both hands, showing empty palms. I'm Dr. Kaivas. I specialize in genetic reconstruction. He pulled out a datapad displaying credentials that made Margaret's breath catch. The Prometheus Institute, the most advanced biotech facility in known space. What do you want? She asked, but her eyes kept drifting to his impressive resume. To help. Kai stepped closer, his voice dropping to an intimate whisper. That dragon isn't just deformed, Margaret. He's evolved. His brain scans show neural pathways that shouldn't exist. He's the first of his kind. How do you know about his scans? Kai's smile was disarming, almost boyish. Have connections. The question is, do you want to give him back his wings? Or do you want to give him something better? Margaret's scientific curiosity warred with protective instinct. What are you talking about? Neural interface technology? Direct brain twing? Communication bypassing the damaged bone structure entirely. Kai activated his datapad, showing holographic models that made Margaret's crude prosthetics look like children's toys. 48 hours of surgery, he'll fly better than any dragon in the galaxy. And the catch? Kai's expression grew serious. I need him for 6 months afterward. Research purposes. To understand what makes him special, Margaret glanced at Tip, who'd stopped exercising and was watching them with those eerily intelligent eyes. I won't let you turn him into a lab rat. A partnership, then. Kai moved closer, close enough that she could smell his cologne. Something expensive and masculine. You keep ownership. I provide the technology. We work together. His fingers brushed hers as he handed her a data crystal. The contact sent an unexpected jolt through her system. Think about it, he said softly, but don't think too long, or others who know what he is. Others who won't ask permission. As if summoned by his words, a shadow passed overhead. Margaret looked up to see a military transport hovering at the edge of their airspace. Kai followed her gaze, his jaw tightening. They found us faster than I expected. Who are they? People who see weapons instead of miracles. He grabbed her hand, his grip urgent. Margaret, I know we just met, but I need you to trust me. That dragon is worth more than you can imagine, and not everyone has his best interests at heart. The transport began descending toward their landing pad. Decide now, Kai whispered fiercely. Let me help him fly, or watch them take him away forever. Margaret looked at Tip, then at the approaching soldiers, then back at the stranger whose eyes held secrets she couldn't read. What aren't you telling me? She demanded. Kai's mask slipped for just a moment, revealing something that looked almost like guilt. Everything I need to. For now. The transport touched down, and armored figures began pouring out. Get behind me, Kai commanded, pulling a compact plasma rifle from his biosuit with practiced ease. The weapon hummed to life, casting blue shadows across his angular face. Margaret scooped up Tip, his warm weight trembling against her chest. You said you were a doctor? I am. Doesn't mean I can't shoot. His voice carried the cold precision of someone who'd killed before. Military contractor, remember? The soldiers approached with weapons raised but not aimed, their black armor bearing no insignia. Their leader, a woman with cybernetic eye implants, stopped 20 feet away. Doctor. Voss, she called out. We know you're here. Return what you stole, and we'll consider this a misunderstanding. Kai's grip tightened on his weapon. I didn't steal anything, Colonel Chen. I liberated it. Oh. That dragon contains classified genetic material. It belongs to the hegemony. Like hell it does. Margaret stepped forward, surprising herself with the venom in her voice. I bought him legally at auction. Colonel Chen's cybernetic I word as it focused on her. The auction was compromised. That specimen was never supposed to leave the breeding facility. Specimen. Margaret's vision went red. He has a name. It has a designation. Project Chimera. The first successful fusion of draconic and human neural patterns. Chen's voice turned businesslike. Dr. Voss was part of the team that created it before he developed inconvenient ethics. Margaret turned to stare at Kai, who wouldn't meet her eyes. You made him, not made, helped birth. There's a difference. Jaw worked as if the words tasted bitter. The hegemony wanted super soldiers. Dragons with human intelligence and loyalty. They didn't care about the failures, the ones who died screaming, or the psychological trauma, so you ran, with the only success. His pale eyes finally met hers, burning with intensity. He's the only one who survived without losing his soul. Colonel Chen's patience evaporated. Enough. Hand over Chimera, and we'll overlook your desertion. Counteroffer, Kai raised his rifle. Leave now, and I won't broadcast your illegal experimentation to the galactic media. You don't have that recording anymore, Doctor. You destroyed your lab, remember? Kai's smile was sharp as a blade. Good thing I made backups. The standoff stretched taut as a wire. Margaret could feel Tip's heartbeat against her ribs, rapid as hummingbird wings. In the distance, Thomas was herding their other dragons into. The main barn, smart enough to get them clear of whatever was about to happen. Margaret, Kai said quietly, never taking his eyes off the soldiers. There's an emergency tunnel in the medical bay. Take tip and run. What about you? Bye. You time. Get to the spaceport. Take transport to the Prometheus Institute coordinates I gave you. I can't just leave you. Yes, you can. His voice cracked slightly. Someone has to protect him. It might as well be someone who loves him. The word hung in the air like a confession. Margaret realized with startling clarity that she did love the broken little dragon in her arms. Loved him with the fierce protectiveness she'd once felt for her daughter. Move, Kai barked. Margaret ran, Tip clinging to her shoulder as plasma fire erupted behind them. The medical bay's emergency tunnel was hidden behind a supply cabinet, leading to the old mine shafts that honeycombed the moon's surface as they descended into darkness. She heard Kai scream. Hours later, huddled in an abandoned mining station with Tip pressed against her for warmth, Margaret accessed the data crystal Kai had given her. The files made her blood freeze. Test subjects, dozens of them. Dragon embryos implanted with human neural tissue, video logs of the failures, the successes, and everything in between. And at the center of it all, Kai's voice narrating with clinical detachment as baby dragons died in agony. But there were other files too. Personal logs where his voice cracked with grief and guilt. Research notes where he'd tried desperately to minimize their suffering. And finally, the recording that would destroy the hegemony's Black Ops program. The last entry was time-stamped just hours ago. If something happens to me, give Margaret everything. She's the only one who sees him as more than a weapon or a failure. She sees him as he truly is. Precious. Margaret's hands shook as she realized the horrible truth. Kai hadn't come to save Tip. He'd come to use her love for the dragon to keep him safe when he couldn't anymore, and she'd walked right into it. Tip nuzzled her cheek, his warm breath smelling of cinnamon and trust. Outside their hiding place, she could hear engines approaching. The engines belonged to Kai's ship, not the hegemony's. Margaret emerged from the mining station to find him limping across the purple grass, his left arm hanging useless at his side. Blood stained his biosuit, and his pale eyes were hollow with exhaustion. You're alive, she breathed. Disappointed, he collapsed against a rock formation, wincing. I saw you access the files, all of them, every last one. Margaret's voice could have frozen plasma, including the ones where you talk about him like a lab specimen. Kai's face crumpled. Those were from the beginning. Before I understood what we were doing, before I understood him. When did that change? The day he hatched. Kai's voice broke. He looked at me and tried to say my name, not in dragon tongue, but in human words. This tiny, broken thing trying so hard to please his creator. He scrubbed at his eyes with his good hand. I knew then that we'd made something sacred, and the hegemony wanted to turn it into a killing machine. Tip had been silent during their exchange, but now he approached Kai with careful steps. The dragon's ocean blue eyes studied the manhood, helped bring him into existence, and slowly, deliberately, he nuzzled Kai's injured hand. Forgiveness? Pure and simple. Kai sobbed. The neural interface, Margaret said eventually. Is it real? Every word. I've been perfecting it for 3 years, ever since I escaped with the data. Kai struggled to his feet. I can give him wings, Margaret. Real flight, not just assisted gliding. And then he chooses. Stay with you, come with me to the Institute, or find his own path. Kai's eyes met hers. But first we have to survive the next 24 hours. What do you mean? Kai activated his comm unit, and Colonel Chen's voice filled the air. All civilian traffic in the Kepler system is suspended pending military operations. Anyone harboring the fugitive Dr. Kai Voss or the stolen genetic material will be considered enemy combatants. They've locked down the entire system, Margaret whispered. There's a way out, but you're not going to like it. Kai pulled up a holographic star chart. The Prometheus Institute has a stealth ship in orbit around Draonius Prime. They can extract us, but only if we can reach the orbital platform. Margaret studied the display. The platform was 300 miles above the moon's surface, accessible only by shuttle or atmospheric fighter. "We don't have either of those things," she said. Kai's gaze shifted to Tip. "No, but we have something better." Understanding hit Margaret like a physical blow. "Absolutely not. His wings can barely support his own weight, let alone carry passengers. The neural interface doesn't require surgery. It's an external implant that takes minutes to install." Kai's voice turned urgent. "Margaret, he's strong enough. His bone density is 3 times normal, his muscle mass twice what it should be for his size. The malformed wings were masking his true capabilities. And if you're wrong, then we all die. But if we stay here, Chen will capture him and turn him into everything I was trying to prevent." Tip made a soft trilling sound and spread his wings as far as they could go. The twisted membranes caught the light from Draonius Prime, revealing intricate patterns Margaret had never noticed before. Beautiful, even in their brokenness. "You want to try, don't you?" she asked him. The dragon nodded, then did something that stopped her heart. He spoke. Not in dragon tongue, not through gesture or telepathy, but in words. Broken, stilted words in galactic standard. "Want to fly? Want to save?" Margaret Kai went white. Impossible. The neural pathways for human speech shouldn't be developed enough. But Tip was already moving toward Kai's ship, his malformed wings dragging behind him with newfound purpose. At the cargo bay entrance, he turned back to them with an expression that was utterly, heartbreakingly human. "Please," he said clearly. "Trust." 3 hours later, the neural interface was installed. Tip lay unconscious on the ship's medical table while Kai made final calibrations to the delicate crown of circuitry now resting against the dragon's skull. "Neural pathways synchronized," the computer announced. "Patient vitals stable." Margaret held her breath as Tip's eyes fluttered. Open. For a moment they were unfocused, confused. Then clarity returned, followed by something else. Wonder. "I can feel them," Tip whispered, his voice stronger now, more human. "My wings. They're not broken anymore." He sat up slowly, and Margaret gasped. His wings were moving independently, no longer constrained by the malformed bones. The neural interface was bypassing the damaged structure entirely, controlling the flight membranes through direct nerve stimulation. Tip spread his wings to their full span, and for the first time they looked magnificent. "Ready?" Kai asked. Before anyone could answer, alarms began screaming throughout the ship. Through the viewports, Margaret saw atmospheric fighters descending. "Like metal vultures?" "Too late," Kai breathed. "Hey, they found us." The ship rocked under weapons fire. In the distance, the orbital platform waited like a distant star. 300 miles might as well have been 3 million, less they could. Fly. The ship's hull screamed as plasma fire tore through the cargo bay. Margaret grabbed Tip as the gravity generators failed, sending them floating toward the ceiling. Through the rent in the metal, she could see Draonius Prime's crimson storms. Swirling 300 miles below, the escape pods, Kai shouted over the alarms, blood streaming from a cut on his forehead. "We can reach them, not all of us." Tip's voice was calm, almost peaceful. His newly responsive wings spread wide, membrane glowing with their own inner light. "The interface is experimental. It might fail. Someone needs to stay with the ship. Transmit the data to your people." Margaret's heart clenched. "No, we're all getting out of here. Can carry one person safely," Tip continued as if she hadn't spoken. "Maybe 2, but the neural load would be dangerous." Another explosion rocked the ship. Through the gap in the hull, they could see Colonel Chen's fighter approaching for the killing blow. "Take Margaret," Kai said quietly. "I'll stay with thee. Ship, make sure the data reaches the Institute. Like hell." Margaret's voice cut through the chaos like a blade. "This is my choice. Tip was abandoned once. I won't let it happen again." She turned to the dragon, who'd become so much more than she'd ever imagined. "But I need you to promise me something. Anything. Promise me you'll live. Not just survive, but truly live. Find others like you. Create something beautiful." voice cracked. Be the bridge between our species, not a weapon for either side. Tip's ocean blue eyes filled with tears. I promise. But Margaret, I cannot leave you. Yes, you can. She touched his face gently, scales warm beneath her palm. Because someone has to carry the truth. Someone has to make sure the others are free. There's another way, Kai interrupted. Desperately. The orbital platform has medical facilities. I can split the neural load between two interfaces, share the control between all of us. Will it work? Margaret asked. Silence was answer enough. Another plasma blast, and suddenly they were falling. The ship's artificial gravity returned. With violent force, slamming them toward what was now the floor. Through the expanding hole in the hull, Margaret could see the moon's surface rushing up to meet them. Now or never, she said. Tip spread his wings and leaped. The sensation of flight was nothing like Margaret had imagined. Tip's wings beat with mechanical precision, the neural interface translating thought into motion with impossible grace. They rose through layers of sulfurous atmosphere while the ship exploded behind them, taking with it any evidence of Kai's sacrifice. Or so she thought. As they climbed toward the orbital platform, Margaret's cum unit crackled to life. Kai's voice, weak but alive. Emergency pod jettisoned. Data transmitted. You beautiful idiots actually did it. Kai, Margaret's voice broke with relief. Made it to the platform's tractor beam range. Turns out I'm harder to kill than I look. His laugh was giddy with exhaustion. Though I wouldn't recommend crash landing as a regular hobby. They docked with the platform as Draonius Prime's twin moons rose over the horizon, painting the gas giant storms in shades of silver and gold. In the medical bay, technicians marveled over Tip's neural interface while he submitted to their tests with patient dignity. The data's already spreading, Kai reported, his arm in a regeneration cast. Every major news network in the galaxy, the Hegemony's Black Ops program is finished. And the other test subjects? Margaret asked. Being evacuated from the facilities as we speak. They'll need care, rehabilitation. He looked at her meaningfully. They'll need someone who understands what it's like to love the broken ones. Margaret smiled. I think I know just the place. 6 months later, Margaret stood in the redesigned paddock on Kepler Station 7, watching as Tip led a group of rescued dragon hybrids through their first flight exercises. His wings caught the morning light like stained glass, no longer broken, but transformed into something even more beautiful. Thomas approached with the morning reports. 3 more requests for sanctuary yesterday. Word spreading that we're the place for dragons nobody else wants. Good, Margaret said. Let them come. Tip landed gracefully beside them, his scales shimmering with health and joy. Around his neck he wore a small pendant, a gift from the human daughter Margaret had told him about. Sarah had visited the month before, amazed by the dragons her mother had saved. Ready for today's lesson? Tip asked, his voice now carrying the musical quality of both species. The newest arrivals, 3 young dragons whose wings had been surgically modified for combat, watched him with a mixture of fear and hope. Always, Margaret replied, as Tip took to the sky again, his wings casting shadows that danced across the purple grass. Margaret reflected on the strange turns life could take. She'd come to that auction looking for breeding stock and found something infinitely more precious. Proof that love could transform even the most broken wings into instruments of grace. In the distance, a new ship approached the landing pad. More refugees, most likely. It's more dragons who'd been told they were failures, weapons, or worse. Margaret smiled and went to meet them. After all, she'd learned that the broken ones often flew the highest once they remembered what their wings were for. Above them all, Tip soared against the crimson storms of Draonius Prime. No longer the abandoned creature from Lot 47, but exactly what Margaret had always seen in those ocean blue eyes. Magnificent. The end.